Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Glad you're all here to hear this. I dropped my pen. On this second day of difficult debate, I have to bring up the allegory, right? We can put a fence at the top of a cliff, or we can send the ambulance down to the valley. And we've clearly forgone the fence and are sending ambulances in far too rapid succession. But it doesn't have to be this way, and today, the gun violence prevention bill, we will have a chance to make a difference and prevent more deaths. And I want to be clear, that's why I'm here, gun safety legislation works. And how do we know this to be true? The proof is found in examining the relationship between state laws and gun deaths. The stronger the state gun violence prevention laws, the lower the rate of deaths from guns. For example, California has a score of 86 for gun loss strength and experiences 9 gun deaths per 100,000 citizens per year. It's about a third lower than the national average. And at the far other end of this spectrum, Mississippi rates a 3 compared to California's 86, where 34 out of 100,000 people in Mississippi die. This is 4 times the rate of California, more than twice the national rate. In Oregon, our score is 66, where 15 out of 100,000 Oregonians die by gun violence every year. This is around the national average. It's heartbreaking to acknowledge that the highest rates of gun violence in our state, they're in Josephine, Klamath, Curry, Baker, and Crook counties. Are you comfortable with Oregon being in the average range? Because I am not. Reducing gun violence in Oregon will take effort, and the reality is that this bill takes common sense steps to make our communities safer, respect responsible gun owners, and help law enforcement do their jobs. It's the action we need to save lives. I would like to add that we are also looking at funding community violence interventions, upstream measures to help prevent people from resorting to violence in the first place. This is work that's already being supported with state investment, and we would like to extend the funding of rooting out the risk factors for violence. I've heard happily many people on the floor today say that we must better fund behavioral health and other programs. Of course, I agree. But let's remember that those diagnosed with mental illness are more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators. And we must do all we can to separate a person in crisis from the lethal means of a gun, and then let's get that person in crisis the help and support they need. I would like to follow up on a few more concerns raised in this chamber today. Regarding constitutionality, the boundaries of the Second Amendment are far from settled right now, as the Supreme Court in the United States decision on Bruen came out about a year ago. But in the meantime, lawmakers have a duty to their constituents to pass life-saving measures. Furthermore, this bill clarifies on how this all should be exercised and which states have the constitutional ability to do. 18 to 20-year-olds will still be able to possess firearms that are common for hunting and target shooting. And if they choose to join the military and acquire the skills and responsibilities of using weapons of war, then the prohibition of possessing other firearms no longer applies to them. I heard a few times 98% of mass shootings are in gun-free zones. I will reference an Associated Press article that finds issue with this oft-cited figure. It comes from a study by a gun rights advocacy group, and it is flawed. It excludes gang-related incidents. It includes military bases and other locations that are not gun-free. There's no definitive data on how many mass shootings occur in gun-free zones because there's no consensus on how to define that. And as tragic as mass shootings are, and they are, we talk about them a lot here, they constitute about 1% of all gun deaths in this country. And furthermore, 46% of mass shootings are perpetrated by an intimate partner. I don't think those happen in gun-free zones. Firearm dealers are already prohibited from selling to someone under 21 a handgun, and that firearm is most often used for self-protection. So under this bill, individuals between 18 and 20 will still be able to purchase firearms that are commonly used for hunting, and they can use those firearms for self-protection if they do choose. Look, in the end, I refuse to be on the complacent side of this issue when we or my children or grandchildren look back and say in disbelief, can you believe that schools were routinely shot up in the early 21st century? How can it be that in our lifetime, children were killed at their desks in cold blood, sometimes while armed guards waited in the hallway, and that their mangled bodies were identified by the sneakers they wore to school on the very last day of their lives? While I know that there is much work to do, I also know that this bill will help us get on the path to a better, stronger future where we won't have to live in fear. Do not look away. Please vote aye on House Bill 2005.